Welcome to the SImple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a cafe au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 105th episode of the SImple Sophisticate. Today, we are going to be diving into decor, and I'm going to be sharing with you a handful of ways to make whatever home you live in at the moment your sanctuary. Before I get into that, I want to give you a hint as to what this week's Petit Plaisir is. It is something that will improve your life immensely. And this consistent habit will improve not just your mood, but the quality of your productivity, the quality of your relationships, any little detail in your life that you want to improve. Believe it or not, this Petit Plaisir will help improve it. So stay tuned at the end of the podcast when I'll talk about exactly what it is and how you can find it. All right. So today's episode is all about our sanctuary. And I'm going to share with you 11 ways to make any home your sanctuary, whether you've lived there for many years or are just stepping into your new home in a new city, a new country, wherever it is you may be. So let's get started. The moment of relief. The moment that signifies to your worries to wait at the door while you step inside and let yourself unwind. Knowing we have a home to walk into each evening, afternoon, and wake up to each morning is an amazing blessing that fulfills a powerful cornerstone as we cultivate a life of fulfillment. The home we reside in need not be large, it need not be new, or for that matter, historic, but it needs to be our sanctuary. And as far back as when the Simply Luxurious Life blog began, the reasons and ways to have a sanctuary were shared. And I will share that post, the link to that particular post on today's show notes, because there are all sorts of basic things we can do that will ensure that, yes, indeed, this is our home, and thus it becomes our sanctuary. Even if the location of your sanctuary changes after a couple of years or a decade or two or more, and thus the size and the architecture do as well, there are still 11 simple ways to make any home your sanctuary. My own life has demonstrated to me that regardless of the home that you lived in and the home you are now living in, these 11 ways or tips are universal, and you can do them as well. Having myself moved from a 1930 Norman-styled home with great space to a small ranch-style home with an expansive yard, there are key principles that can be applied to each without it feeling like I am trying to replicate the exact home that I used to live in, but at the same time ensure that my new home becomes my sanctuary as well in very short order. Because it's tough to live in a home when you know you have to wait for a year for you to save up to buy this and do that and remodel that. These are things you can do now. Within a few months' time, maybe even less than that, you can have these little items completed, and thus you will have your sanctuary. So let's dive right into those 11 ways you can make your home a sanctuary. Number 1, respect the architectural design. As much as we may want to fight this basic premise, I know I have tried to fight it before. At the end of the process of decorating, we will be thankful we followed its sage advice. For example, a French chateau can no more be decorated with modern, streamlined interiors than a couture Gambia Batista Valley can be paired with a grunge flannel button-up. While yes, this is a creative idea, the unexpected pairing would make a statement and it will be trendy for a moment. But when it comes to our homes, we want to decorate in such a way that will stand the test of time. something we can build upon, continually add to, and finesse as we get to know our house. And if we don't respect the architecture, we're going to spend a lot of unnecessary money and spend a lot of time. If we would just respect what we have, we can make it beautiful. Much like letting a child show us what they are passionate about, rather than forcing our passions upon them, when we allow the truth of the house and the truth of the child to be revealed, true beauty can then be expressed, and more often than not, in ways that we never even thought were possible. So number 1 is respect the architectural design. Number 2 is let the sofa sing. If you have room for a sofa or even a love seat, invest. As someone who is currently changing my own sofa and have been wanting to do this for quite some time, it is a process that does require patience. Why? Well, it's one of the most powerful players in the primary common area of your home. Depending on the size of your house, obviously, but most people, the living room is where we congregate not only with our family and those we live with, but also the people we invite into our home. When you get the style, the color, the size right, when you know what those are going to be for you in your home, everything else is elevated that you pair it with. Absolutely everything. So take your time finding that right sofa. Whether you buy a brand new one or purchase a consignment piece and then have it reupholstered, take the time to determine what you want and then be willing to wait until you find exactly what you're looking for. So number 2 is let the sofa sing. Number 3 is, let's go into the kitchen for a moment. Make the kitchen your sous chef. The kitchen. Probably my favorite room in the house, or the room which shares the top seat with my living room. Okay, well, actually with all the beautiful weather, right now my back patio is running a close second, and my bedroom is always a beloved space. But needless to say, I love being in the kitchen, partly because of what it allows to be concocted, and also because it's a pleasure to be able to cook, as it forces me to completely focus and let go of the past or the future, if only for a mere 30 minutes to an hour, while I pull together the meal that I'm going to enjoy. All the while, sometimes sipping a glass of wine, which makes the experience even more relaxing. The idea of making your kitchen your sous chef is to make everything that you need accessible and then eliminate the rest. Ample cupboard space is obviously going to be a luxury. If you have it, utilize it and rid yourself of anything else you don't use. If you don't have ample cupboard space, you're going to have to get very creative. And that's going to be something that will pay off in the long run too. Make sure you only have what you need, and what you have, make sure it works and functions for you very, very well. So it's that idea of quality over quantity, again, even in the kitchen. So here's some ideas. This is what I have in my kitchen. Place your cooking utensils in ceramic cylinder holders by the stove. Create also a small tray with a ramekin full of coarse salt and another one full of flaky salt. Have a pepper mill sitting on top of that as well, or nearby the stove. As well, have a glass container or some kind of a bottle with a spout for your olive oil and your balsamic vinegar. Why balsamic vinegar? Again, that's my preference because I make a lot of vinaigrettes and I always have to have a little bit of vinegar in it. And it's always balsamic vinegar that I go to. Everyone's going to do theirs a little differently, but that's what I use all the time. So that's why I've placed it close to where I put together all my different ingredients. The key is that for the ingredients and tools that you use often, make them easy to reach for. So number 3 is make your kitchen your sous chef. Number 4 is to create a vignette for entertaining. Whether you set up a bar cart, as I detailed and showed you my own last year, I'll provide a link today onto today's show notes, or if you just use a small table, create a space where all of your entertainment needs are organized and styled. Liquor, wine glasses, a bucket for chilling the wine, the rosé and the whites, cocktail supplies, and bottle and wine openers. Add a few signature touches such as candles, a vase, anything that you want that just adds your own signature style. And then you're set for any opportunity to entertain one or many guests. So number 4 is to create a vignette for entertaining. Number 5 is spruce up the exterior. An easy way to spruce up your home, no matter what the architectural exterior looks like, is to add Mother Nature. In the front, place a pair of matching pots with similar annuals or perennials that you will plant after the summer somewhere else in your yard. And add a hanging basket for your porch. Now, if it's entirely in the sunshine, make sure you buy plants that want that full all-day sun. If your porch is in the shade, make sure you buy plants that are loving that shade. My house, for example, is completely in the shade. The front porch is anyway. So I have my hanging fuchsias out front. I love them. But then again, it's all in shade. If yours is not in shade, find ones that love the sun. And nurseries are absolutely overflowing with these options right now. So get on down to your local nursery and have some fun picking out a little bit of a touch of a smile to your front porch. If you have tables and pedestals in your front porch on your deck, add pots and plants to them as well. For your door, add a wreath if the design calls for it, and keep the stoop swept and welcoming for guests. Something very, very simple. Now let's move to the back of the house. That's fun. If you have a balcony or a back patio, why not plant a mini herb garden? Or you can either put it in pots, and I provide a link to a post I did a few years ago of my herb garden that I had in my old house. I now have a bigger space for my garden this year. I'm so excited. So when it comes to fruition, I'll be sharing that with you on Instagram and hopefully here on the podcast as well. But this idea of allowing yourself to have access to the goods from the earth right in your backyard. I love that. If you also have room, add a basic patio set with table and chairs. You don't have to completely invest a ton of money. There are so many cheap options out there that just buy classic, basic, simple looking sets and then use pillows to accessorize, outdoor, indoor pillows to accessorize. I will provide a link to the ones I actually have on my back patio, as well as a handful of other links to others that I shopped and handpicked specifically for you in this podcast. So be sure to visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 105 for some options, because they really just do add, they're just like a flower. They just add a simple little touch to a space that is going to be very neutral, most likely, but also you want to be able to be welcoming. You want to go outside. You want to spend your mornings out there savoring your breakfast and hot tea, but you also want to have a space that you can have friends over for a dinner party that is al fresco. That's the kind of space you want. And it doesn't take a lot to create that space. So number 5 is spruce up the exterior. Number 6 is let the television play second fiddle. With any gathering space, other than an entertainment or game room, the focus should be on people rather than things. Even if there is only one person in that room enjoying it, the idea is to create a space that allows you to relax, enjoy, and engage comfortably with your guests, with our reading material, or simply stepping away from the outside world and allowing you to unwind. The television, something I have been editing out in my own life, as I shared 2 years ago, should be secondary. Now, I still have one television in my home, but I've really come to not have as much of a need for it, and has brought much more pleasure to my living spaces. So, for example, if you have a television in your living room, I mean, that's where most people have them. We like watching our television. There's so many great television shows out there. There's such great access to great movies at our fingertips. Why not? I totally get it, and would probably never get rid of a television for that reason alone. But rather than having all of the furniture facing it, place it instead in a slightly adjacent corner. Or if your fireplace is the focal point, hang your television above it. The beauty of these new televisions that are flat and narrow is that they allow us to put them in a variety of places and hide them away too if our particular room makes that available. Ideally, conversation and comfort come first. And then when we need to turn on the television to watch the new season of Grace and Frankie, as to step away from our thoughts, it is available, but it's not staring us in the face. So number 6, let the television play second fiddle. Number 7 is to create a reading station. An idea that I have recently brought into my new home came by the way of where do I put this piece of furniture? I really did have a plan for this one piece of furniture, and I was going to put it in another room, but it just didn't work when I started to move in. It just didn't work, but I love this piece of furniture. This is an old antique table. It's not a full dining room table. It's small, something you would put in a kitchenette, things like that. And it's something I had saved up for when I was in college. And so it's special to me as well, but it's a really nice piece of furniture. So I'm like, where do I put this? I've got to figure this out. And how I answered my own question was to create a reading station. Everyone's reading station will be different. But what I have done and have been quite tickled with is that I found a space between my open living room and dining room. So it's all one big space. But there was some empty space in the middle, and I was like, what can I do here? So I placed this table there. I put my record player on top and a lamp as well. And then I have a lot of extra space on this table. And so that's where I put my monthly magazines, my most recent newspapers that have arrived and ones that I haven't gotten to yet. And so I'll read at the end of the day or the next morning, and any books that serve as a reminder as to what I can read when I'm having breakfast or what I can read in the evening when I'm unwinding and relaxing. So it's all going to be per your furniture and your space, because yours is going to be uniquely your own. But why not create a space that encourages reading and curiosity about the world and ideas in general? It doesn't mean you'll read every single page of each magazine and newspaper, but something may just catch your eye, and who knows what creative ideas will result. So number 7 is create a reading station. Number 8, blankets, blankets, and more pillows. Such simple additions to any room can sometimes be the toughest decision to make. I don't know about any of you guys, but those little accessories that we see in Elle Decor and Architectural Digest and House Beautiful, they look so beautiful and they make it appear so easy that they pulled everything together. But maybe that's just me, because it isn't easy for me. But when you eventually do decide on the proper print and the proper hue for your sofa, armchairs, beds, and reading nooks, that is when the finished space comes together and it begs for us to sit down and enjoy. Sometimes the colors and prints we want can be found at our local boutiques, and sometimes we might, as I have done, have to go to a fabric store, pick out exactly what we want, and have someone make the pillow for us. This is a very inexpensive way to make the design and the decor exactly the way you want it. And since you're going to be living with it for a long time, it's a simple and frugal decision to make. Either way, again, it's your patience and knowledge of what you need that will pay off when it all comes together. So number 8 is blankets, blankets, and more pillows. Don't be afraid to place them in your living room, in your bedroom, in your sitting area, and as we talked about earlier, in your outdoor space as well. So number 8, all about the accessories and the details. Number 9, vases or vases, however you want to say it, with more flowers at my fingertips from a variety of sources here in Bend and all different price points. I am loving my weekly ritual of at least 2 fresh bouquets in my house. And as the flowers themselves are always different depending on the season, I am realizing that a variety of vases are needed as well. From bud vases to square vases, to clear glass, to colorful, opaque, whimsical designs. This summer, I am excited to visit many more yard sales and pop into secondhand stores as well as consignment shops to see what I can find. Such a simple decor detail that can make such a great signature touch. Granted, the flowers, since they're going to change every week, that changes the whole vibe just a little bit as well. But, you get to pick different vases too almost every week. So that can add some change to changing up in your home decor every single week. How much fun is that? And how simple is that? No? All right. So number 9 is all about vases. Number 10 is prep for guests. And whether you have a guest bedroom or not, you undoubtedly will have guests that will stop by for a visit, for dinner, or for a small cocktail gathering to celebrate something, anything. It's Friday, whatever it is. So be sure to supply your guest bathroom at least. If you have a bedroom, you'll want to do the same thing, but add simple touches of beautiful towels, beautiful linens, soaps, lotions, and perhaps a playful framed image or two that just makes someone chuckle or smile. when they step into the room. Your guests will feel comfortable and welcomed, and you will always be ready for an unexpected visit. So number 10 is prep for guests. We have one more to get to, but before I get to number 11, I hope what you're recognizing in all of the 10 that we've talked about is that these are all things that are not going to require you to call a contractor to redo. It's not going to require that you own the house. These are all things that you can do no matter whether you're renting, whether it's big, whether it's small. You can make these things a reality. Now, the sofa, like I said, may take some time to save up, but again, that sofa is going to go with you to your next place too, if indeed it is something that will fit in your next place. And most of the time it can and will if you follow that same similar aesthetic, but maybe tweak up certain details that will match the architectural design where you are going. So hopefully you're seeing that these are doable. These are all very doable things. These are all things that I have been diving into myself as I've moved into my new house. All right. Last but not least, I think I saved the best for last, but I think all of them are great. Number 11 is splurge on bed linens. Let's talk about that master bedroom. This is the space we let all of our defenses down each and every night. A couple of times in the blog, I have shared my bed linens with you. Christie linens, as well as Perfect linens, make beautiful, luxuriously soft sheets. And most recently, I have been introduced to Montauk fine linens. I am especially loving their Clementine collection that is in blue or azure, and I provide an image of that on today's show notes if you want to take a look. Typically, I'm a big fan of white sheets, white, but I'm starting to shift, not necessarily to a lot of color, but to one color that just magnifies or accentuates the simplicity, but also my cleanliness. And blues have always been my favorite. But anyway, so this idea of sleeping in good linens, this is going to finish our sanctuary. This is what's going to make our home a sanctuary, because ultimately our bedroom is the true sanctuary. To invest in ourselves when it comes to our boudoir is not an excessive expense, especially when we know the power of a good night's sleep. While it may take time to save up for the linens you want, gradually remind yourself that you are worth it. Because when you do eventually slip into your bed between 500 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets with just enough layers for warmth, you will thank yourself. A good sleep is priceless. Absolutely priceless. Again, I'll provide links to a piece that I did on how to cultivate a bedroom that becomes your sanctuary beyond just the sheets. And then I'll provide a link to Montauk Fine Linens, which is the latest bed linen company that I am absolutely smitten with. The good news that I have discovered as I settle into my new home is that no matter where we live, we can make it our sanctuary with simple touches and attention to detail. From the first welcome of the potted plants at the front door to the kitchen that is set up to help us create a delicious meal each and every night. This is a home that can become your sanctuary. Enjoy the journey of making your space a place you enjoy coming home to each and every night. For all of the show notes, visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast105. I will provide a link to previous podcasts and articles and posts that I've written that deal with whether it's our mini herb garden or making our bedroom our sanctuary, as well as the outdoor pillows that I was talking about earlier. But now I want to get to today's Petit Plaisir. It ties in beautifully with our last point that we just talked about. Number 11, indulge in bed linens. I'll be right back. Welcome back. This week's Petit Plaisir is Arianna Huffington's latest book, The Sleep Revolution, Transforming Your Life One Night at a Time. Now, you've probably heard about this. It's been everywhere on the internet, on talk shows and newspapers, but it is a wealth of a resource. If you're someone who is trying, you know the power of sleep. We all know the power of sleep. But if you're someone who's trying to get to the nitty gritty, if you want to know about all the science, not just a short little blog post about it, this is the book for you. And she dives into how to get a good night's sleep as well, which I'm going to give you a brief overview of, but then I will highly recommend that you go into this book because she talks about how to ease jet lag. She talks about how this is going to help your career, help your overall life, and where and how those little pieces come into play. So here are 5 simple tips that she suggests, based on science, will improve and allow you to have a good night's sleep. Number 1, remove the blue light. That's our electronics right there. Get them out of your room. Do not go to bed with them. Do not wake up with them. Get them out of your room. Number 2, use low wattage incandescent bulbs in your bedroom. Softer light. Number 3, keep it cool. That would be 60 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. In fact, don't go any lower than 54 or any higher than 75, as that has been proven to disrupt your sleep. Number 4, indulge in regular physical exercise. That is a free way to fall asleep well every single night. Your body has exerted itself. It wants to recover. It wants to rejuvenate. It will help you and your mind fall asleep very quickly. And number 5, let your worries rest as well. We all know that our minds can play havoc on us at night. And while we know this, sometimes it's hard to know how to stop it. There's all sorts of tips and tricks she's going to share with you in this book to do that. But there's one that she shares that is a quote that she reads before she goes to bed every single night. And it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So I wanted to share it with you. Here it is. Finish every day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as fast as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. You shall begin it well and serenely and with too high a spirit to be encumbered with your old nonsense. I do think you're going to enjoy this book. Like I said, if it's something that you know you need to improve in your life, your sleep, the quality of your sleep, pick this up. Check this out at the library. It will not disappoint. It will be absolutely worth your time. And I'll provide a link to Arianna Huffington's Facebook page where she has a video and she reads a handful of excerpts from her book. So you can really decide if this is a book that you want. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each Monday's podcast, where I'll recommend a book, a film, or a recipe. Anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, stop by the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up the book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide. To stay caught up on the most recent podcast, blog post, and receive exclusive news, as well as an extra dose of inspiration each week, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or your morning coffee, just in time to jumpstart the weekend. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée.